Back. I'm Abby Hackyard. I'm going to click this thing down here, which allows me to say, hi everyone, welcome back in print. All right, here we are, and I have my warm beverage. Oh, every so often, I don't know if you do this, but every so often, I eat something, or I drink something, or I wear something, or just I have a sensation experience. And a part of my brain says, imagine the first person who tried this. The first person, the first person who said, hey, I wonder. And then, oh my God, not to be confused with the person who said, hey, I wonder, and then fell over dead. Not that guy. So good morning, Eddie. How are you? It's so good to see you. Cheers. Now, in case you're wondering, I drink a fairly mild coffee. It's like a regular grind. And but what I've taken to doing lately is adding some hot chocolate to it. And it is divine because, good morning, Miss Maggie. It is divine because it just gives you that little element of this. If you like coffee and you like chocolate. Chocolate, by the way, is very good for you. Aside from the fact that it's, if you're into chocolate, it's delicious. So I'm going to talk to you today about something that struck me very early this morning. I actually woke up in the middle of, what time is it, with this thought, and I wrote it down, because if you don't write it down, you'll regret it till the end of time. I wrote this thought down, and then when I woke up at a more reasonable time, I looked at it and I thought, I might be onto something. The little old back of the brain guy had a thought, handed it out, I wrote it down, and I think he's really onto something. So I want to share it with you because it has everything to do with the theme of today's video, which is, it's perfectly okay to want something new. It's perfectly fine. Why not? Right? And I want to delve into the whys and the why nots and why we struggle in a second. But first, I want to tell you this really interesting thought. And I think it's this. Hang on. I think that the reason we struggle when we make a decision to change something, when we just make a decision to try something new, I'm going to not eat that anymore, I'm not going to wear this anymore, or I'm going to do that instead. And then we're good at it for a while. It's like the gym memberships we reinvest in every January, and then something goes off and we don't go, or we forget to buy the special ingredient, or we just don't. And it gradually erodes and erodes and erodes. And then we're not doing it anymore. And every so often we remember, and then every January we kick ourselves for just, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just stick with something? And I think the secret is hidden in that question. I don't think it's the decision to change that we have trouble with. I do not think it is the process that is the mountain too steep to climb. I think the thing we struggle with is the why. I think this is, so you're gonna go away and chew on this, all right? I don't think we've updated our why. I think the reason we chose to live there, or the reason we chose that hobby, or the reason we chose that job, or that person, or that pet, or that set of steps, is not the decision we're making now. It's not the reason now. It was our reason then. And our reason then was based on a whole lot of things that aren't happening now. We're not the same now. And I don't think it occurs to us to, first of all, take a look at the why. Why do we keep doing that? How does it serve? And even then, I don't think it's the thing. It's not the thing itself. I think we keep doing it because we're invested in the why. How are we invested in the why? What does that mean? Well, the why usually tells us who we are or who we think we are or who everybody says we were supposed to be or what it was for, also our why. Back then in the beginning, when we were 3 or 13 or 23, and we're none of those things anymore. But we didn't sit down and examine the why. We did it because it's the way we do it. And we haven't said, what is it that I want to refresh? You don't have to throw, there's that old expression, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Can you imagine? It's not that you shouldn't change. It's not that you're supposed to just, lose interest and toss it. Squirrel, lose interest, toss it. It's not what we're talking about when we're saying we want something new. What we want is a sensation of originality. We want the sensation of excitement, of exhilaration. You see all these conversations, and for a long time I was doing relationship counseling, and people didn't understand why so-and-so was cheating. It hadn't occurred to either of them that if you lose the spontaneity, if you lose the excitement, if you lose the originality, it's boring. Everything's boring. Oh, yes, you're having your coffee blended with a cinnamon roll. Ooh, yes, cinnamon roll coffees. So if it's boring, oh, my favorite food, oh my gosh, I haven't had it in 6 months. And then you have it every day. And now you're really looking forward to something different. Well, whose fault is that? Who decided to have it every day? Who stopped trying? Who stopped wondering, I wonder what happens if we add cinnamon roll coffee blender, right? A lot of these people show up and their only conversation is a grievance. They never do this, they never do that. How many times do I have? And the first thing I say is I want you to go out that door, and I want you to go out that door. And then when I want you to come in, and I'll tell you when I want you to come in. I want you to come in and imagine yourself very young, going to a circus or going to the fair or going to a birthday party that you've been looking forward to. And I want you to come in the door, and I want you to say hello to me like I'm the person hosting the birthday party. All right? I'll tap on my side of the door when I'm ready for you. And I'd tap, and one of them would come in and be all embarrassed and everything. And the other one would come in and give it a try. And I'd say, okay, very good. Very good. That's a very good first try. Now, I want you to use the same tone of voice that you used with me, and I want you to use it on each other. I just want you to say hi and wave. You're over there. You're over there. I want you to say hi with that tone of voice. Not husband, wife. Not I've known you since we were 5. No, it's a party. It's a circus. There's a pony. I'm the one hosting. I want you to greet your fellow guest. And they felt really stupid doing it. But I'll tell you what happened. They both laughed. They both laughed together at something they'd never done before. And that was the first time I said, when was the last time you laughed together at something you'd never done before? And most of the time they couldn't remember. And I said, well, isn't that a crime? Isn't that a crime committed, each of you? Not on the other. Each of you committing it on yourselves. If you know it's a party, if you know it's special, if you made a vow that this is the best and it's going to be for the rest of my life, did you not understand that you have to remember and relive how it felt to say that? You have to go back to what that was like when the tuxedo actually fit and the dress looked amazing. Did you not understand that that's what you have to bring every day, if only to say hello? And however goofy that is, the fact that you laugh together is that special sauce. And in all the years that I did that counseling, no one ever had. They just assumed it would take care of itself. I remember one one member of a couple said that, I guess I just thought it would take care of itself. And I said, gosh, I'd hate to see your lawn. And they both laughed. Because the silliness of it, the stupidity of it, the how could you not know? Well, how could you know if you didn't ask? Who were their role models? Did they understand? Who was their best friend in all the world they could tell a secret to? Somebody else? That explains a lot, doesn't it? So we have permission to redefine, to look at the why. And changing our why doesn't mean rejecting ourselves. It doesn't mean who I was isn't good enough anymore. It's not about good enough. It's you were 5, and what was great when you were 5 is different today. It's different now because you're not 5. And how it was great when you won that first prize, when you had that first audience, when you had that first birthday gift, when you had that first Christmas, isn't the same now. It will never be the same, and it's not supposed to. The responsibility is to bring a new excitement to it every time. Up until last year, I've had to figure out how to fix it this year because I wasn't happy with it. Up until last year, I have always had a live Christmas tree. And I have a live Christmas tree because it's a living experience. It's a living entity. Christmas is alive in us. The smell of the tree, the smell of the garlands, the real live. You walk into the room, and there it is. And I'm in a place where they frown on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a way to have a very small live experience this year because I missed it. And I was not surprised that I missed it. I was surprised at the size of my disappointment that it wasn't there. And I am going to correct that this year. And why do I want that? Because every Christmas is mine. When I was 17, I almost died in a car accident 2.5 weeks before Christmas. And every Christmas after that is a bonus Christmas, right? They were all bonuses. My dad was military. I spent more Christmas celebration days and nights not anywhere remotely near the 3rd week of December than actually on or near that date that everybody celebrates. Because military, not home, on a temporary duty trip. We're moving. We just arrived. Find the tree. We can't find the ornaments. We're lucky to be here. And so Christmas, the moment of Christmas was the day when we were together. Christmas is when you're together with the people you love. It can be any day of the year, as long as you're with the people you love, is my take on it. So my why changes constantly. Every time I was in a new place, a new home, a new chapter in my life is a new why. And I understood it without thinking about it. And what my clever back of the brain said to me was, maybe other people aren't as fortunate. Don't see it that way. And I look at people who, they sign up for these motivational training programs, and they sign up for the weight loss and the diet and the special this and the special that. And they get rid of everything in the pantry, and it doesn't work. And they feel like it's their fault. It's not their fault. It's their why. What is it for? There are 5 questions. Always 5 questions. What does it do? Who does it serve? What does it change? Why do they care? What's in it for me? If you've not asked what the why does, how can you possibly get the outcome you're looking for? If you don't have an endpoint on a map, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you're never going to reach your destination, are you? How do you know? When you run out of fuel? I don't know. So enough with the preamble. One more sip. We struggle with a couple of things when we change our minds. We struggle with a couple of things when we decide we're going to do something differently. One of the things is our unconscious habit. We decide we're not going to eat that. The first thing we have to do is throw it away. Second thing we have to do is remember not to automatically buy it when we go to the grocery store. We decide that we're not going to go to that place anymore. We're not going to do that event anymore. We're not going to get involved in those activities anymore for some reason. We have a habit pattern in our brain that does it unconsciously before we're even thinking we're doing it, because that brain is really fast. It's much faster than the thinking brains we have. Which is why, by the way, when people say control your emotions, they're delusional because you're already feeling it before you thought it. So how do we communicate to other people? Two things: that our why has changed. And because our why has changed, then everything we were doing based on that why is inevitably going to change. And we have people who say, I liked it the old way. Yes, so did I. And for me, the old way had run its course. There's an expression in the theater. We played there and closed, meaning we were in that town for 3 weeks. We did all 3 weeks. Some of them were good. Some of them were not so good. Some of them were amazing. And then the 3-week run ended. We closed the show. We're not going back to do an encore next week because we're already in the next town. We've already moved on to the next project. We are already in the new chapter of our lives. Why don't you go back? I don't live there now. I live here now. I'm in this chapter now. When people say turn the page, they don't mean walk away from what happened. That's not what it means. It means refresh the why. If you're just doing it because you did it, then you'll always get what you always got. That's not growing and thriving. That's maintaining and surviving. Is it painful to grow and thrive? Well, I don't know. We could ask a snake. We could ask a caterpillar who turns into a butterfly. It's only painful when we try to get back into those shoes we can't wear anymore and that dress that appears to have shrunk in the closet, or that high school jacket. What? We can't be here if we insist on being there. We can't be what we become if we try to maintain what we were. Does that mean letting go of the why? It means refreshing the why. It means saying what was amazing when I was 10, when I was 20, when I was 30, will always have been amazing. It will always have served a purpose, fueled a dream. And now it's time to fuel new ones. And we bring all those memories with us. It's not like we don't remember. It's that there's nothing to say about what was if we don't add something new to the conversation. Gosh, remember the last time you made pie? Yes. Alrighty then. Is it baseball season yet? The conversation is repetitive. It's like watching reruns. How many times do you want to watch a rerun? As often as you want. Sure. The reason you're watching the rerun is because you're remembering how fun it was when it was new, and how it's a warm and comforting part of your day to remember how much fun it was when it was new. While you do that, though, You're not here. You're not now. You're then. And you're either enjoying it or you are pretending you're fighting it. But if you keep doing it, you're enjoying it. Habits are familiar, getting rid of familiar is Zeke. Yes, it is, Eddie. You're absolutely right. Good morning, Kelly. How wonderful to see you. Thank you. Every single time we get rid of familiar, you know, Eddie, that's a very good point. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you wrote that. Habits are familiar because we've practiced them. It doesn't mean we get rid of familiar. You know what it means? It means we practice something new because we have a standard of familiar to live up to. Think about it that way. If we have a standard of familiar, a standard of joy, a standard of that came with the previous familiar why, then what we are doing is measuring entry level. Therefore, it's never goodbye, is it? It's part of the learning curve. The last time I went this fast on gravel, right, what did I do the last time? Maybe I could fix that before I enter the curve. What's up, Eddie? What's up? Eddie Tooks, you can't do it on TV. Best show. I can't read the rest of it yet. Congratulations, Eddie. You win the prize for having exquisite judgment in television programming. What we're talking about today, Eddie Tooks, is how we change our why, how we recognize that it's time to change our why. How do we recognize it? What are we doing it for? What is it? What does it do? Who does it serve? What does it change? Why do they care? What's in it for me? Attain and derive the same amount of joy with a new familiar. Yes. Don't you love that, Eddie? Derive the same amount of joy from a new familiar. We have a benchmark now. So we're not tossing it out. We're keeping it to show us how far we've come and how high we get to fly. What do you think? I'm liking it. So I have a story about new. And I did it. It happened in 2018. I realized that I was making do with something. I realized that just on a particular day, it was not what I'd signed on for. I had tiny step by tiny step, incrementally, made my parameters smaller to fit what was available. I had done it to compensate. I had done it to compromise because I can, because I could, because I have. And on that day, when I realized my aha, what actually hit me was that every compromise that made my demand smaller, my surroundings incorporated and kept squeezing. I realized that the pushback wasn't automatic, that the size of the square I stood on wasn't firm. And if I used up a smaller footprint, the pressure would keep on coming. And I said to myself, no, no, no. And I left the room I was standing in, and I went and stood in another place to look out a window at pretty much nothing. And you know what I said to myself? I said, I did not strive and survive this and this and this and this. To qualify, to compromise. That's not what I signed on for. In my life, the hurdles, the big ones that I achieved, they brought me here consecutively. This is my ta-da. The way the person lands after that incredible jump and Gelände-sprung spin in the air, land, ta-da. I did not land here to be told, okay, little less, little less, little less. I did agree to a little less, and then I suddenly realized that the pressure hadn't stopped. And I'm always reminded of the amazing moment in the film Midnight Cowboy when Ratso Rizzo, the homeless, unemployed creature of New York, is crossing a street and a taxi jumps the white line. And without a blink, Ratso Rizzo pounds the hood of that car and says, I'm walking here. In the film, that was actually a blooper that they kept. The stunt driver behind the wheel of that cab, his foot had slipped off the brake and it just jumped forward. He caught it. But in the jump, it startled Al Pacino. That line wasn't in the script. That smash wasn't in the script. He was completely immersed in the character. Here's this unfortunate creature living under the radar when his boundary is threatened. He says, nope. I've given away that, I've given away that, I've given away this, and I appear to be the other, but I'm not that. I'm not roadkill. I have my limits. And I had my own Ratso Rizzo moment in that moment in 2018. I was just standing there looking out the window. And I thought to myself, no. And that was the beginning of Pivotry in Motion. I didn't have that name for it yet. When I turned and I went back into my office and I wrote down what had just happened to me, I realized that I had found my why. And my why was, this is my deserve today. This is my why today. Not my why of yesterday or the day before or the decade before. Today I choose for me because. Brand new, fresh, original. Not to be confused. And I don't want something new. I want the taste of possibility. I want the taste of freshness. I want to find my reason to say, this is awesome. It's a great phrase that client Susan and I came up with. This is mine today. Mine today. My way today. I may want it a different way tomorrow. It's mine. I can have it any way I want. That's the beauty of why. It grows with us. If we forget that, if we never knew that, it explains everything. It's different when you have a New Year's resolution and you say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. That's not the oath. That's not the oath that we should be giving to ourselves, because that's a push. I think the thing we should be saying to ourselves is, I deserve to be like that can of frozen orange juice, concentrated. Same quality, smaller package. Better form and a lot less substance. Not scraping off unwanted. Refreshing and renewing how we perceive ourselves as who we are. It's not a slog. It's a celebration. It's okay to want to feel delight, amazement, excitement, hope, curiosity, wonder, determination. It's okay to feel all these owning emotions, because our life is ours. And our life today is ours today. Our life today is not our life yesterday. There's a lovely fellow who calls himself the mind architect. His name is Peter Crone. And he says he doesn't solve problems, he resolves them. He dissolves them. And he dissolves them by looking at a problem as a story. And if we rewrite the content of the story, if we rewrite the concept of the story, if we rewrite our role and the plot of our story, it changes. Did the thing happen? Yes. How are we perceiving ourselves in the happening? I had the most brilliant and lovely and unexpected phone conversation yesterday with the delightful and wise Andrea Gould, who is a therapist extraordinaire. She came to me as a client and we worked through several projects together. And I was reminding her of a wonderful conversation we once had many years ago about identity. She had an incredible task ahead of her, and she, of course, performed it magnificently. And she said, our identity is who we decide we are based on what we do. I said, you mean our why? And she said, our why helps us achieve our what. And I think identity is a combination of those. And her project, she was brought in to work with top executives whose businesses had been downsized. And so one day they were the chief officer of something, and the next day they weren't. They were Bob Johnson. And they didn't know how to navigate their lives without something after their name. And she said that's because they had stopped being Bob Johnson. They hadn't been Bob Johnson in 30 years. It's the same thing that happens to a woman who becomes a mom, or a man who becomes a husband, or a brother who becomes a brother instead of a son. We take on a role. And many times when we take on that role, we discard our original, who we are. And the thing is, we can't. It's impossible. We are the origin within everything. Inside the CEO is still Bob. Inside the brother is still Bob. Inside the mom, there's still Roberta. And we forget that. And when our why changes and we forget us, we don't know how to get us back when we need a new why. We don't have to reinvent us. We just have to remember us. And take a moment, sit down with us and say, how have you been? How long have you been wearing those shoes? And get to know us again. Fresh. Remember the time? Yes, I do. What's this we're doing now? We can remember those times. We want to live in these times. This is not just now. It's new. And tomorrow, I sent a note to a friend of mine this morning, sorry. I was talking about the fact that every Christmas is brand new for me for a different reason. And every day with people is different for me because there's a reason. Slightly different. And I think I've accidentally done a smart thing as opposed to intentionally doing a smart thing. I think we need to decide whether we're spelling now correctly. Because what if now is actually spelled new? And what if that is a thing we've forgotten? What if every day when we wake up, it can't be, it physically can't be same old, same old? Why not? Why not, boys and girls? Why not? Because it can't be same old if it's new. So we're not turning a page and throwing the previous page away. We're refreshing the page. We're putting today's date on it. We're putting this pair of shoes on it. We're putting this temperature on it. We're putting this point of view on it. 10 years ago, you made a decision. You're not going to make a similar decision for the same reason. You can't. You're not the you were 10 years ago. You're this you. And today, this you is making this new why decision. It's not unfamiliar. Change doesn't have to be scary. It's a challenge not to know where your house is. It's exhausting not to know where your house is. But it's not our fault. It just is the new experience. So there's good and there's bad-ish. And then there's opportunity. The good is that you get to start again. The bad is that you have to start over. The opportunity is I get to introduce whatever I want because it's mine to own, including my memories of what happened, including my assumptions behind those happenings. Did someone treat me badly? Or did someone do something unhelpful and I was somehow involved? Did they take aim at me? I'll never know. Even if I ask, they may not know either. And if it happened in the past, why am I spending that much time there? As my great friend Suzette said, why are you giving it oxygen? It's dead. It's over. Good point. So it's okay to want something new. It's okay to remember that we are new every day too. Do we have the same job? Probably. Do we have the same colleagues? Probably. Except, much like the theater, there's never two performances exactly the same. The audience is different. We are different. The rest of the cast and crew are different. Things have happened around us. For, I think the way to start wrapping this up today is to remember that lovely old saying that you can never step in the same river twice. The meaning behind that river is that the exact water molecules that you touched before have moved on. Some of them are on your foot. The rest of them have moved on. So the river you step into now is a whole different collection of water molecules. Also, your foot is different. You are older. Your cells have divided. Some have left the building. It is never exactly the same twice. Why then, if it's never exactly the same twice, would we stop recognizing and celebrating the newness and the wonder? You chose to go into a situation, you chose to get into a relationship, you chose to make a commitment to something. You did it because it mattered. And in the moment that you made that decision, it mattered more than anything, because that's why you made it. If it mattered more than anything once, why would you behave as though it didn't still matter that much? Why would you disregard it? Why would you let it lapse? How hard is it to remember every morning how grateful you were to get into bed last night and say, oh yeah, excellent bed. We do it because we're not paying attention. We're not living in the present. We're too busy negotiating and navigating. We're not stopping to recognize who we are and what we have. This is always new, and we are new too. That's why it's okay to want something new. Lucky us. Every minute we get it. I have an exciting thing to share with you next week. I've been working on this as part of our big project for a long time. And what is going to happen has a lot to do with new and now. What it has to do is recognizing who we are. Everything around us that changes. Hang on a second here. I just have to get rid of this little block thing. Yes, there we go. What are you saying here? Hang on a second. You love my art. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mikey. That's wonderful. My experience knows no bounds. How cool is that? My experience, Eddie Tooks, never ceases to shock and amaze. Thank you. Something new. I see new people. I learn something new. Somewhere along the line, something causes the utmost damned astonishment. I know you were thinking of writing that, Eddie. I'm just saying it for you. So here we are. Something exciting is happening among us. Something astonishing is happening among us. Something ridiculously stupid is happening among us, kind of in rotation. And I was having a conversation with Maggie Client today, and we were talking about the ups and downs and the sidewaysness of artificial intelligence. And one of the articles that, because we go through the articles to see what new thing has reared its head that we can incorporate into the development of her work. And it was that we're faster, but we're not more capable. And so I wrote to her, I can type 6,000 words a minute. 137 of those words are correct. I don't know which ones they are. I think that sums up AI for me completely. It's not that I don't believe in AI. I believe that AI has a function. It is not the function that I require. I do my function. It does its functions. We're good. It's peaceful coexistence. So with all of that said, because we learn by mirroring, it means that we raise ourselves in a situation where we are constantly looking for external validation. And what is difficult, and Eddie and I have talked about this for years, we must remember that the person we have been with the longest, the person we were with first, is the first and most important validation of all. Of all. And that person, the first and the longest, is us. If it doesn't resonate with us, it doesn't matter who else it resonates with. It must live here in order to have a hope in hell of living there. So is it time for something new? Maybe it is. Maybe the time for something new for you is double checking how old your why is. And I'd love to know. Reach out to me. You can find me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. Reach out. We'll talk. And then I can tell you all about this exciting thing that's so new. You're going to love it. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for taking the time out of the day to spend these minutes with me. Because without you, this is just a rehearsal. So the drill is, all together now, be good to you. You deserve it. Remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. Thank you for watching. See you next time.